Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Minahan and her panel of guests bring you insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for soul growth. Come journey with us through astrology's energetic cycles and get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sue Minahan. This is Talk Cosmos, and we are looking at the Taurus New Moon when the spirit settles into matter and the will to live presides. It takes a lot of effort to keep rising up above those little seeds in a plant, raising up against the seed, the earth, into the sun. So we are imagining the future. Let's do it with our panel, Archetypal Symbols. We're ready.
Synthesizing the new moon consciousness through archetypal sabiansymbols, numerology, lunar mansions, tarot, and astrology, all together illuminating a new moon vision story. This is your Archetypal Symbols panel.
I'm Sue Minahan, founder of Talk Cosmos since 2018. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, consultant, speaker, writer, vibrational astrology student, Dwarf Planet University graduate, Kepler Astrology Toastmasters Club charter member. I have a fine arts music degree plus a certificate in jazz. I'm an artist, musician, and certified color energy life coach. Especially, I love mythology and esoteric philosophies.
I'm elizabethlizmuschett, a professional astrologer, intuitive, numerologist, and tarot reader. I'm a certified sacred healing counselor, providing nurturing, in-depth consultations for individuals and couples. I'm an author, blogger, speaker, and international Reiki master and teacher. I create safe space in which to explore the deeper patterns of your life, to clarify your current circumstances and help you find your best path forward.
And I'm justincrockettelzie, an archetypal Jyotish astrologer, yoga and meditation teacher, and author. I combine both Western ancient astrology and modern psychological astrology with Eastern Vedic astrology, and I specialize in predictive, electional, and karmic astrology for individuals and couples. I also do in-depth astrological research into arcane astrological concepts, focusing on the mystical, occult side of astrology.
Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift." And that's why it's called the present. Well, hi, Liz. Hi, Justin. We are here.
Hey.
Hi, Sue. Good to be back.
Hi, Sue. Hi, Liz. It's good to see you both.
Hi, Justin.
Well, on we do. Imagine the future. There's been so many changes. I rather like this idea that, okay, get it together. Let's move forward. Let's do it, okay? We have here the archetypal characteristics and the ruler of the new moon, which happens to be Venus because it's in Taurus. We should begin. Liz, you want to start off talking about it a little bit? I know it's self-worth and value and resources. What more?
Yeah, the Taurus archetype is our finances, our talents, survival, self-reliance, and to watch out for is determination that leads to stubbornness and inflexibility. It's because Taurus it's a fixed sign, so it can be stuck sometimes, but sometimes that's a good thing because it doesn't move too fast and it can complete a task or complete a project, to do all that work that you have to work on it.
So true. Once it gets that bullseye, it's like, I've made that decision. I see the bullseye. It's going to get there. Like, don't stand in the way. It's going to happen. And I often right. Yes.
And I was going to say, that Taurus energy is about accumulating. And it's, when the moon's in Taurus, it wants to accumulate. It wants to manage its resources. And so there can also be a sense of doing things on its own dime, its own time. It doesn't like to be pushed fast with anything. So there is sort of a need to accumulate resources and work on one's Maslow hierarchy of needs with this new moon.
Yes, there's strength. It can really become, I think those resources, both internal and external, the finances, but it's what are your talents and all of that, or other issues. And the
Taurus moves slow. It doesn't like to move fast. It likes,
Right.
once it's like living in a spot, unless they've made the choice or the decision, they want to stay put.
Right.
It wants to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Comfort is a big issue. However your Taurus is, whether it's Moon, Mars, I don't know about Mercury. Mercury wants to feel comfortable in how it communicates, I think.
Well, Mercury in Taurus is a contemplative thinker.
Yes.
So it needs to think, it needs to, once it learns something, it needs to incorporate it before it moves on to learning something else, new.
With Venus, which happens to be in Pisces now, looking at which in many ways would seem like music and artwork would be, and of course Taurus is also sensual. It has all your senses. So things that are in Venus, what we're magnetically attracted to, manifest. But unless we have thoughts about that, or have we kind of wrapped it up? Okay. The numerology, combining the two, would be 7, because it is the 7 degrees of the new moon. And Venus at 20 degrees Pisces, we're adding it together. So it's 2, duality, partnership.
And the number for this new moon is the 7. It's very analytical, spiritual. Lots of times they like time, or the 7 energy is about spending time by yourself or in meditation and contemplation. It's oftentimes taking sabbaticals, etc. Justin, you want to add anything?
No, I think you got it covered.
Okay, well, it is interesting. I think of the 2, partnership, how perfect for spirituality, because it is self and the greater forces. And in Pisces especially, it's all about the greater forces, the wildness, the world. I mean, it's partly, I'm thinking of other factors, but it's a good time. And I think a lot of this leads into that with the Sabians, remembering the wildness, the spirit of life. It seems to me the universe is presenting this in different chapters at different moments through new moons and other to get on board. It's not just our planning, it's that part of the whole source, cosmos, whatever you want to call it.
Well, in the last 5 or 6 new moons, we're all at 9 degrees. So we were repeating that 9 energy. And now we're in a cycle of each new moon will be changing a degree earlier, a degree or 2 earlier. So we'll be having different cycles for the new moons at this time now.
I was reflecting on that because it's secular. Every year, I think it has it stays at a certain degree. And since it was completion, and involving other planets within the seed chart that may add up to 9 on occasion, asteroids or whatever. But it was these layers of completion, right? It's like endings and beginnings of what? So now, yes, thank you. It's like, all right, remember the spiritual part of it, analytical.
Well, and then now we have the major arcana card, the Hierophant, which is the 5th trump card, or the 5th major arcana card in the deck. And here's another spiritual suggestion. So with the 7 and the Hierophant, it's like, what is spiritual to us individually? It doesn't mean that, oh, well, now you have to do X, Y, and Z. It's like, what is for you? It could be working out in your garden, meditating by a lake or a tree, or walking in nature, any of those things. Good. And I think of this card as a teacher and a guide too. Justin, you want to add anything?
Yeah, well, so the number 7 represents spirituality. You know, there's 7 directions in Native American spirituality, 7 lobes in the Bible. 7 is the number out of time, and it's a deeply spiritual number. And I believe with this, you know, the fact that this is a Taurus moon, it means that the things it's opposing is Scorpio. Lilith is actually opposing this moon. So there is something to do with ourselves spiritually and transformation. I might note, I love this card before the people in the medieval times got a hold of it and changed it to the Hierophant. It was the Pope. And I just got done watching The Conclave, which I highly recommend. It's on Amazon Prime. But The Conclave, and of course, you know, the Pope just passed away, and it's an appropriate movie. You should check it out. But this kind of reminded me when I saw this that aspect of the institutional leader, and I think that's very appropriate for the Hierophant, which is, you know, the religious aspect and spiritual aspect of this moon.
I'm glad you brought that up, Justin, because I was thinking too, Pope, didn't know how to thread that in, but perfect. Life does reflect. It's just a cosmic wonderland. And here we are to the nakshatra, the lunar mansions.
Yeah, so I love the lunar mansions and taking a look at them, because for anybody who's watching this that never really looks at lunar mansions, they're really good because it gives us a deeper layer into how the moon will present itself or express itself if we look at the lunar mansion, the nakshatras. And so the nakshatras is, of course, that portion in the sky where the fixed stars are at, and the constellation and what it's going through, and some of the mythology surrounding it. So on the next slide, we see that this particular nakshatra is called Bharani, and it's in the first pada, and there's 4 padas or 4 sections to a lunar mansion and nakshatra, and they're all ruled by a different element. And this one is in the first section, or first pada, which is ruled by fire. It's always ruled by fire, the first pada. And the Navamsa, if we dig down deeper, this the Navamsa, or the ruler of this pada, is Leo. And the key word is willpower. Now, the ruling planet, of course, is Venus, which I love. It kind of, again, syncs up with what we're talking about here with this moon in Taurus. And the ruling deity, this is interesting. The ruling deity for this nakshatra is Yama Dharma Raja. Now, Yama was the god of death, and also the god of justice. And of course, Dharma Raja means king of the justice, or king of the knowledge here. And it's the god of death and justice. What Yama, of course, it's a protector deity. The symbol is the celestial yoni. And a basis above is to take away, and the basis below is to purge or cleanse. So this is really kind of really represents that sort of Taurus with the opposition of the opposing sign of Scorpio, death. And again, I'm going to point out Lilith is opposite this moon. So there's something deeper that this nakshatra is talking about, that we have to let go of, or look at our shadow self here with this. But so it's a really good deity that rules this. And again, Yama was not only the god of death and justice, but also a protector deity. So it's a really good nakshatra for accomplishing something, and also working through, or purging, or cleansing, and working through some issues.
That would be so important if we're visioning the future, imagining, because making space, just like you're planting a bunch of seeds, you've got to weed out the territory to let the plant grow, give it room, I mean, whether it's within or outside. Thank you. And Leo, I hadn't realized the first pada was, it's nice to get that connection to, we need a little fire always. It helps somewhere in the energetic world. The Sabians, these are symbolic images. They have metaphors. Elsie Wheeler in 1925 with Mark Edmund Jones, created these. Since then, in the last 100 years, there's been other astrologers. We go back using Dan Ruchar's. There's Linda Hill, there's others, but we seem to like that one. And Mark Edmund Jones, of course, has a book too, which I happen to have on my shelf. But and if you go online, you find it with mandala cycles of transformation, just mandala cycles. And in fact, I believe Astrology University with Tony Howard is going to republish it. Yeah,
I'd heard that
is that a
too.
word? He's been talking about that for about 3 years, but just recently, I think he's decided to do it for real now, for whatever reason. But the fact is, you can get it online. So we are using the degree itself, the one before and the one after. Tell a little bit of a story here.
And also, I might point out for those that may be watching this first time, we like to look at first the ascendant, which sort of shows how we're moving into the space of this day of this new moon. And of course, we also look at the midheaven, which is what we're ultimately trying to accomplish with the moon. And then, of course, we look at the sun moon as well. That's why we look at the three.
Yes, beautiful. And the new moon, just for folks to remember, will be on the 27th of April. And this is using the Eastern time zone at 3:31 in the afternoon.
So can I say something really quickly about that
go
chart?
ahead. I'll go back. Yep.
Yeah. So one of the things, I don't know if you all, I'd be curious what you and Liz think, but I love it when the ascendant is Virgo. This can be a really good grounding chart when the ascendant is at Virgo. And it tends to take a much more rational, logical view as it moves forward on this day at this time. And then, of course, I love that the midheaven is Mercury. I mean, is Gemini. Both of these are ruled by Mercury, of course. So I think it's a really good, it's a very mental chart, I think, from that perspective. I'm just curious what you two think on initially your view of that.
And Mercury, I have to jump in, is so far away. I always look at the position of Mercury to the sun because it makes a distinctive difference about the clarity of your mind. Mine is not real close. Mine is close to my sun, and I've recognized with different panelists and different people when their Mercuries are at a great distance. Oh, the clarity of their thoughts, they enunciated exactly. It's like beautiful. But here it is 11. And so, yes, and in fire in Aries. Liz?
Yes, and that Mercury has just cleared its shadow phase. So it's a more powerful Mercury. And this chart is for, the United States, but it's also very active for Canada also because their capital or their hub, I don't know what the correct term is, for that whole country, we would look at this chart. Now, you could also do it for where you're located, and you would come up with different positions of this ascendant and midheaven and what house the sun and moon are in.
Yeah. Well, thank you for bringing up all of this and reminding with the power of the Mercury. Mercury is also works between spirit and matter. So perhaps there's great assets. Let's find out.
And Mercury's, gaining speed and quick, and in Aries, it's going to be, fast, quick communication, and I hear that they're getting some new trains in the United States that go a lot faster and have bigger windows and everything. So it's kind of, because Mercury is short distance travel. So I like that.
And might notice that it's going to hit Chiron here pretty quickly soon too. So that's something to be kind of aware of. The Mercury Chiron conjunction.
Yeah, in fact, I was looking at that too, going, oh my gosh, and I wasn't gonna. I'm so glad always somebody brings it up. So what month are we in? We are in Chiron.
April.
So we need April. I'm looking at.
So it'll be early May probably.
Yeah, it will be. Yes, it'll be 23 degrees. Yep, it'll be at the very end of about the 8th.
So an opportunity to do some healing and teaching, but the caution would be, mind your words, because you could speak words that are very damaging. So, it's like we have two possibilities. And so if you feel like you're going to explode with your words, maybe take a time
Find a pillow.
out or something.
Right.
Talking to my pillow.
Count to 5.
Right. But then, another way too is if you're wanting to start something new, which is very entrepreneurial Aries like, you may be second guessing or rethinking some thoughts of some new things you want to start. So just kind of I would say that's also a representative of that. And I agree with you, Liz and Sue, that everything you've said. Just giving another thing here that it may come out.
Exactly. Yeah, it can be quite encouraging, a good energy to move forward, particularly because Mars is in Leo. And we'll look at that later, of course. But the point being that it is in its shadow time, meaning we have a chance to renew what we may have started back in October and particularly up in December when it was in Leo.
Right.
Well, for the Eastern time zone, for the ascendant at 15 degrees Virgo, we're going to look at 14, 15, and 16. 14 is an aristocratic family tree, a deep reliance upon the ancestral roots of individual character. It's all about root power. It takes everything from the past in order to create that energy for that seed to achieve something. Liz?
And then the present or the now is Virgo 15, a fine lace handkerchief, heirloom from various ancestors.
Valorous, I think. Yeah, that's actually, I think it's, I don't think it was supposed to be various, but that maybe what is it?
Oh, valorous. Yeah. Okay.
No, I bet you're right. I bet it is. I messed it up. Okay, whichever. Pardon me. I have Virgo rising. It's delete. Looking at. Okay, never mind.
And then deeds well done, and the keyword is culture.
And then what we're moving towards here, Virgo 16 degrees. In the zoo, children are brought face to face with an orangutan. And here we have a direct confrontation with the wild power of primordial nature within oneself in karmic confrontation.
Yeah, I think I was looking at orangutan there in that word.
Well, and planting new seeds. I've been gifted a few herb plants from a few people and some seeds. I went to like a little fair a few weeks ago and they were giving out wildflower seeds. So I've been planting new seeds and starting an herb garden because I haven't had one for a long time and it just feels like the right thing to do right now. So
beautiful. Looking at the midheaven, that Gemini at 14 degrees. So with 13, we'll look at 12, 13, and 14. How about if you start it, Liz, and we'll just turn it around a little bit.
Okay. And remember, these were written 125 years ago, so different words were used then. A Negro girl fights for her independence in the city. Liberation from the ghosts of the past. And the key word would be liquidation. Yeah.
Present Gemini at 13 degrees, a famous pianist giving a concert performance. Individual fulfillment in the performing of a social function in which some prestige is attached. So this is a source of inspiration.
And of course, the future, what we're moving towards here, Gemini 14 degrees, is bridging physical space and social distinctions. Two men communicate telepathically. Here the key word is the capacity to transcend the limitations of our bodily existence, our consciousness, and it's a technique of transcendence.
Now, do you want to go over the last two, sort of to recap these before we go to the new moon a little bit? Okay.
Sure. So my thoughts, and I'd be curious what your two thoughts are. So this, again, that ascendant to me just really represents, again, that sort of being grounded, that root power as we confront some things in our reality and kind of centering ourselves and going inward. And of course, then, the midheaven to me is all mental. I always think that we have to sometimes let go of things mentally, total liquidation, and this is really about kind of looking at our consciousness and looking at transforming some of the what way we're thinking about some things. What do you all think?
I love that word, transcendence and inspiration. And the liquidation, going backwards here, just really recreates that idea of what the nakshatra was saying, to purge and open in order to receive. Yeah. Liz?
Well, I think of like clearing the mind clutter to bring in the inspiration and the transcendence. So all of it together is beautiful.
It is. And that we do have this built up culture that and the wildness there does go with the whole idea of the spiritual direction. So here we have the new moon. Ah, boy. Past, I'll begin, which is 6 of Taurus. A cantilever. Why did I do this, Sue? Me and my tongue. Cantilever.
Cantilever, yeah.
Thank you.
No
Bridge
problem.
across a deep gorge. The conquest of separateness through group cooperation. This to me is just really rang out because in the unification, not just with Pisces and North Node, but the whole idea of separation versus group. And I love the word cooperation. So the capacity to conquer obstacles that does require some evolution and expansion.
And the now is the Taurus 7, the woman of Samaria at the ancestral well. Meeting of the traditional past and the creative spirit pointing to the future. And the key word is a new quality of being.
And then as we're moving forward, this one is a sleigh on land, uncovered by snow. And the keynote here is the value of anticipating and preparing for expectable conditions. And the key word again is, of course, the title of our show, future-oriented imagination.
Thoughts?
Right, like
as we wind up our first half.
Yeah, it's like we can overcome our obstacles and find ourselves in a new way. So I kind of agree with Justin about the grounding, because it's like to reground in. And for me, that's always been pretty easy. But lately I've been having a little bit more difficulty grounding. And then, you know, our imagination and thoughts and innovation.
Yeah, and you know, I like that new quality of being, because I always think of, you know, when a person is going through a progressed moon in Taurus, you know, they're trying to find some new quality of being, you know, sense of safety and values in the world, and focusing on one's Maslow hierarchy of needs here. And so I love that this is a new quality of being, and that we've got the energy to conquer what we need to, and it's about, you know, thinking positively that no matter what happens, everything's going to work out in the end.
Well, this is a good pause to continue with, because truly I'm realizing the strength, the not just innovation, but the intention of this new moon is to really continue our growth through whatever might happen. That there's empowerment, resources to use and to continue. All right, we'll be right back, folks. I have elizabethlizmuschett, justincrockettelzie. This is Archetypal Symbols. I'll see you in a moment. Thank you. While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We're currently in the period of Taurus. By leaving a cycle based upon initiation, the energy of Taurus integrates spirit into a solid form of matter that is tangible and physical. It's an earth sign, concerned with self-sufficiency and the values to maintain the strength of a life form throughout its survival.
Talk Cosmos brings insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for the soul growth with hour-long programs. Talk Cosmos weekly programs are also available to watch live on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel and Facebook page. While you're there, make sure you click the like and subscribe buttons so you get the full Talk Cosmos experience. Or if you'd rather listen to the show archives with audio only, the entire podcast collection since 2018 is available on most podcast carriers. And to find out about upcoming programs, sign up for the newsletter at talkcosmos.com. So grab your coffee, tea, or kombucha and enjoy the show.
This is Martha Norwalk every Sunday morning beginning at 9 a.m. Thanks in part to Natasha Venter at intuitiveclarifications.com. We cover the world of animals. This week, May 4th, it's Shelter Rescue Sanctuary and anything that helps our animal friends Sunday. We'll check in with Meow Cat Rescue, Help Animals India, and Merritt and Beth Clifton from animals24-7.org. And we'll find out about all the great events coming up at the Ananda Institute of Living Yoga. Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Going our own way every day. Alternative Talk 1150.
We are back at the beginning. Here we have elizabethlizmuschett, alightpath.com. You can find her at liz@alightpath.com. And she has a YouTube channel. JustinCrockettelzie, you can find it at justincrockettelzie.com. And his email is justin.elzie, that's ELZIE, @gmail.com. And he has a YouTube channel called Astrological Yogi. Me, Sue Minahan, I have Talk Cosmos, info@talkcosmos.com, or my YouTube Talk Cosmos. So thank you. Liz, tell us a little bit about your show.
Well, Justin and I do the astrology forecast and the full moon forecast each month. And I have a series with the Astrology Star Sisters, which Sue is a part of. And we covered Chinese astrology, decans, dwarf planets, fixed stars, planet stationing, Uranian astrology, and Venus star point. And some new things that I'm working on is the Cosmic Connections, which is relationship astrology, magical astrology, and midpoints in astrology. Thanks,
Hot
Sue.
diggity. Okay. And Justin.
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel, so just check me out there and you'll see all of the different playlists and videos that I do. So
Okay. And to email you for consultations.
that's the best thing is to email, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And myself, I do have the shows that I've been with Liz on. You can find it at my playlist. If you go to Talk Cosmos, it's videos featuring Sue. And we just started one on a dwarf planet. And there was another one about Uranus. For Talk Cosmos, just the recent ones, Adam Gainsbourg was on Planet Buzz. And we talked a lot about the Mars opposition to Pluto, which is quite a signature these days. And then the U.S. global currents, which Justin is on, talked about the name of the games happening right now with China and the courts. It's quite intriguing, so you can check that out. And next week, we continue with the lunar cycle with Kaleidoscope Visions for Taurus. Remembering always, there will be a vibrational astrology conference called Fractal Cosmos on Labor Day weekend. So you can check that out. But let's get to our new moon chart. Imagine the future. The sun and moon was at 7 degrees, 47 minutes in Taurus on April 27th. It hasn't quite happened yet. It's going to be in a couple of days. And that's at 3:31 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time in Washington, DC. So I have noted on all of these the post shadow of Mars. And you know what? I think I had that wrong, darn it, because I checked it again. It's not till May 1st. It's more to May. Darn it, all the details in life.
Well, the first few days of May, so that's good. And then Venus is still in post shadow until May 15th that you have here.
Oh, that's right, because it's the 6th. I'm dyslexia going back with different. Never mind. Okay. Yeah. And then it's Venus that will be until the middle of the month. So we're really treading waters that we've traveled before. We get a chance to really pull it together. What did you just say,
We've had lots of time to review. And with all those other new moons at 9 degrees, it was like a time to review and release and get ready to move on. And so now we have, a new moon that we can imagine the future with. It's like fantastic.
Exactly. Right off the bat, the first one is for the sun and moon, this strong square, this grand square. And it's a fixed grand square. And it does involve most particularly the sun and moon itself in juxtaposition to Mars opposite Pluto. Absolutely dynamic, action-oriented. Mm-hmm.
Yes, to me, that's the most important part, is that T-square there that we have. That's, because, I think it's important because, there's a power thing going on here. With with the Mars squaring the sun, this can be dynamic action. The same thing with the sun squaring Pluto. This can be people taking chances and being impulsive. So I think it's because Mars is about taking action, and it's squaring how we're feeling with the moon and the sun there. And then, of course, it's also squaring Mars. So this is all about, can be representative power. And I might note that in Donald Trump's chart, this is very prominent because that Mars is conjunct his Pluto. So he is actually also having the Pluto opposition. And this square is, of course, his Pluto squaring his sun. So this is why we see this roof, that sort of that dynamic push for ultimate power, and just pushing right through like a bull in the china shop. That's the aspect of what we see here with Pluto sun square with and the opposing Mars as well. I might also point out that Lilith is here between Haumea and Vesta at 3 degrees. And so Lilith is in Scorpio, and so I'll say some more about that in a minute, but I didn't want to go on too much there. But
no, that's good, because I'll just bring up that with Haumea and Vesta, it's a rebirth of our hearth. So that T-square that I appreciate, I also see that as the strongest feature here. But the reason Haumea has impetus is to say that T-square is supposed to be about rebirth. And rebirth can be quite a challenging transformation, transition, the whole bit.
And I always think of Lilith, of how we resolve things. And I want to go back to what Justin said about the nakshatra, about being justice. So it also helped, or I thought of injustice. How do we correct injustice to become just? So.
Yeah, and that Lilith in Scorpio is all about transformation and looking at our shadow side. And I think when Lilith is opposite the moon, opposing the moon here in the sign of death, Yama, of course, death and moon, there's something here to be looking at our shadow self and working through difficult emotions and relationships. I don't necessarily see, though, that square between Mars and Sun and Pluto is a positive thing. It can be very dynamic and very power hungry. So this is definitely the time that we should watch how we're projecting our power as individuals.
I know Adam was saying that because he follows the Mars, just like Venus, it rises, through the different gateways or portals, that there's a time since its conjunction, which is since at 2023, and that this is the 10th. I should have written it all down, but this is the 10th, which has a lot to do. Okay, the whole cycle was in Capricorn, so it has everything to do about that archetype of our laws and our, not laws, but rules and
oh yeah,
authority. Thank you.
Yeah, because this Mars and Pluto opposition, I might note, is actually on the United States North and South node.
Yes, exactly.
And so with Pluto going to soon be going over the United States South node and
at 6 degrees, exactly.
Right, mm-hmm. Right. We're going through a total transformation of what we value as a country. Our values are changing. And with Mars on the North node during this particular period of time, this is on that Rahu, that demon head. there's a big power thing going on right now here with pushing through with change of resources. It also represents from Mundane's approach, the tariffs, because in the U.S. chart, that Pluto or the nodes are in the 2nd to 8th house, so it's the houses of resources, money, and finance, but also our values. And so this moon is really kind of reflective, I think, of what we're seeing happen in the collective right now, with a real strong people playing power issues right now, and just going all out, and I think that if we look at the Pope, the thing that happened with the Pope, this is interesting with this. This can also represent power changes with this.
Exactly. And there has been quite a bit of conversation just briefly over the news, because we know that the bishops are all converging on a private basis until the 2nd of May. But some people want it to be more traditional, and others are saying, no, lead on like Franciscus did. So we'll see how that evolves. But I'm remembering too, and I'm eager to see what the next slide is, but this is great conversation here, because Chiron at 23 degrees Aries is still a few degrees from our natal US Chiron of 20 degrees. So we're still involved with this whole Chiron return of what are our wounds, what are our identity, what about the president, is all this continuation of the story, not the same story, but should I go on? Liz,
I just wanted to make a comment about the Mars-Pluto cycle. The Mars-Pluto cycle is a 2-year cycle. And so we're right kind of in the middle of it, even though it was a little over a year ago that Pluto and Mars joined, but they were at 0 degrees Aquarius. And now they're at the full phase. So even though we're in a new moon, we have these other planets in a full phase. So we kind of have this new moon, full moon energy happening simultaneously.
Yeah, Liz and I did a show about the 2-year cycle, and Liz did a great chart on how that cycle plays out from when they were conjunct to the first quarter square to now it's opposing, and then what that 3rd quarter square is going to look like.
The next one will also be at 3 degrees Leo, and it's in February of next year. So this is interesting, because we also, this isn't a strong aspect. I know people which we as astrologers are realizing, because it's not just any opposition, because it was back in 2024 when Pluto was not in Aquarius, when it was still in Capricorn. So then in January was when it first. So in other words, it is a cycle that's going along. Oh boy. Okay. We can manifest the groups. We can learn to cooperate. What was group cooperation? That was it. Remember? That was a Sabian for one in the past. Yes. That we just read, I think. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah. There are a few squares other than that one that don't involve the sun and the moon. And here I just put them down with the planets, because they're all with other, not major planets. But Mercury is square in an action-oriented square to Pholus, the centaur. Jupiter is square Ceres, which is a dwarf planet. And Nessus, another centaur. And Uranus is conjunct Hygeia, who's an asteroid, and square Pallas Athena, the strategist, the war strategist.
So what jumps out to me here, getting back to what we were just talking a few minutes ago about the Mercury Chiron conjunction and watching how we communicate. Well, Pholus, is that centaur, which represents sudden change, like something happening, right? So I do think this can represent, just highlights how we're communicating is kind of important, because we may feel the energies where we need to be a little bit more aggressive with power. And so watching that, and I guess I feel that's also kind of represented by the Jupiter and Gemini squaring Nessus, which represents some type of sometimes our thinking and mental thinking, and how we're abuse as far as our mental, what we're thinking internally, and kind of pay attention to that.
Well, it is a lot of suddenness and thinking on our feet and action. There's a lot of new thoughts and belief systems, and working with now is the time, it seems, if I might say it way.
I wanted to kind of talk about how Hygeia and Uranus are conjunct and they're square to Pallas Athena. And so to me, it's like there could be, if you just took the Hygeia and the Uranus, there could be some change in your health. But with Pallas, I would say if there's some things that you can do to improve your health, even if it's a very simple step, it would be a really good time to start planning and working on that.
Yeah.
With the South Node in Virgo, I'm listening up. This is good. This is good. Thank you, Liz.
And I would also say planning as far as our money and resources too, because of Taurus.
Looking at the flowing connective energies, we do have a mystic triangle that we'll look at next to finish our thoughts. But here, this is a strong one between Mars and Venus, along with Neptune, which, Neptune and Venus is very about visions. What attracts us? What do we want? And with Mars, it's like, when you put that together, it's like, let's act on it. What are we going to do with it? How do we make this live?
Yeah, because the Venus and Mars, when they make a flowing connection, that's a nice aspect to add to any chart. And then, it's like, what are the new visions going to be? It's next to that Neptune. Let's
what really sings in your heart? What vision? Yeah, it makes you feel alive. I think that's what it is. I've read, I
would say there are going to be new styles of movies, and there could be some new music coming out that will be really,
that always
really
interests
nice.
me. New music. I wonder, as a musician, I often think to myself, well, world music, wouldn't that be great? New beats, new rhythms, new chords, yeah.
Well, I think we also got to point out that Mercury's also involved in this. It's only 7 degrees away from that Mars, and I think
11.
Yeah, it's 11.
Yeah, 4. Gotcha.
That's only
Thank
7
you.
degrees. So
Yes,
that's
sir.
actually also that's being affected. This is a Mercury and Mars aspect here as well, and depending upon your orb. But there's an effect here that this is like a really good thing for new ideas, new ideas, new starts. But also, again, back to communications. Watch those communications right now, because there could be some fiery communications, but it's also the synapses are all firing on new ideas, and this is good. I think this is good for starting some new projects, new ideas. Just be careful of how your power center is with that, and how much you're trying to push through.
And I would pay attention to your visions and ideas that are flowing, because with that Neptune conjunct that Mercury, they could be super flat. I mean, just a flash. And so have some way to either make a note or record your voice into something, record your dreams before you, start your day, maybe get up 10 minutes earlier.
And you could journal too. Go ahead. You could write. You could write every day. Just flush it out. Mm-hmm.
Right. And, I'm saying, also, if you've got an important planet that's near that Chiron there, and, let's say like you're part of Fortune or something else, you may be wanting to start something new, but
by North Node.
And you need to kind of maybe, my part of Fortune there, you may need to kind of rethink things. You may think, I was going to do this, but now, nope, things are changing right now. So it's
the rethinking.
You may have to rethink. Yeah, definitely.
Well, that goes right back to the analytical part, doesn't it? Looking at the higher, the trump card that we had,
Hierophant.
Hierophant. Okay. Yeah. It's not hieroglyphics, it's hierophant. I know these things. Don't mind my mind. It's like, oh my gosh. At any rate, but it is rethinking it and a lot of analytical, even though we're finished with technically the shadow period of Mercury, it's still a lot of, all the planets are direct. So let's go with the flow. We'll go forward. we'll keep thinking forward. Here we have, I'm talking to myself here too, a grand mystic, I don't know if it's called grand mystic, but it's a mystic triangle. That's where you have planets that are trine and sextile. You could
And two
divide this.
oppositions.
Rectangle, yeah.
Yeah, and the oppositions can create those wedges, which we call point of thales, a lot of resolution. It's like every point has a resolution and a dynamic. It's significantly, powerfully constructive energy. So let's look at it. What do you think?
Well, oftentimes with a mystical rectangle, there's work that you have to do to, find that treasure. Sometimes it's not hardly any work, but oftentimes there's some kind of work. And so I would say, that big pile up still happening in Pisces opposite the South Node. It's like there's this observation of, okay, from the past, now what's the future going to be, or what are we going to work towards? So we have Nessus, Ceres, North Node, Saturn, Venus, and you might as well pull in Neptune in there. And so Ceres is about how, can be our farming, how we farm, do we have a new way to do that? And then what are the boundaries or the structure of how we're going to do this? And so that's really jumping out at me.
And what relationships, who's going to be our alliances that we're working with? Go ahead.
Yeah, the thing that jumps out with me is the Uranus Juno opposition, Juno representing relationships. It's in Scorpio. So, and right after this new moon, that moon hits Hygeia and Uranus. So there's something emotional that's going to happen right after this new moon. And again, this is, I think, really looking at our shadow as how we're dealing with relationships and transforming some things in our relationships. And I agree with Liz there that's pretty powerful with Saturn on Rahu, the demon's head there. Especially when people are having Saturn returns right now. This is a point of we're all trying to improve this year something.
Yes, we are.
Because the South Node in Virgo. So this could be a time when we're being called to be more disciplined with Saturn there. And what are we dedicating ourselves to with our improvement right now?
And I'm remembering what Liz, you often with each new moon reminding us to be gentle. Well, this is how I'm interpreting it. Be gentle with ourselves and give. But I'm looking at Saturn that has been conjunct and is conjunct Venus, that of course can make you love the old traditional things and beautiful, but it can be quite sobering and sombering. It levels necessarily maybe some superficial elation to realize what is reality, but in doing so, it's perhaps one's mood gets a little bit more waiting to be rejuvenated, right? So
well, in that Uranus Hygeia opposite the Juno, it's like reconsidering, like, is our relationships or our commitments or our agreements with people, are they healthy? Have we outgrown it? Do we not even like to do this anymore? It doesn't mean that the person's mean or cruel. I mean, it could be, that you need to like heal or get away from an abusive relationship, but it doesn't have to be an abusive relationship. It can just be, this is not my cup of tea anymore. It's time for me to, make some changes.
Not supporting the direction, the needs, your heart's desire for your own growth. Exactly.
Well, and I think that we see that also, just to piggyback on what she's saying. I agree with her that because you could see that with the South Node sextiling Juno, right? And so that South Node in Virgo wants to improve, wants to purge, wants to perfect. And when it's sextiling Juno, it's giving us some really good creative energy in order to be able to work through some difficult stuff with relationships right now, whether it's a relationship with somebody, a relationship with work, or our relationship with anything in our life's journey. Yeah.
Very true. Absolutely. Boy.
And I'd be curious what you all think of the Uranus sextiling Saturn there. Uranus sextiling Saturn.
This is a very important sextile that is lasting, of course, because these are exterior. Liz, what cups to?
What?
I was babbling and the music came up. I thought, Liz, you got a thought? That's all.
Well, I would just say release what you don't need and create new.
Yes, and be ready for the moments that are happening today that make sense to eliminate. Yes, Saturn wants to make it what is core, what is fundamental, and Uranus is bringing it in. Well, thank you both. I wish you a wonderful new moon. Yeah, and
thank you.
We will open up more for the good empowerment of our visions.
And we'll be back next month with the next new moon.
Oh, good. Yep. Okay.
Time to work with Yama. Let some things go. Purge.
Blessings to all. Thank you.
Thank you for joining an insightful conversation on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Minahan and her panel of guests awaken consciousness by connecting soul growth patterns with astrology's energetic cycles. Be sure to tune in next week, same time, same place, to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.